Okay, good morning, everyone. I think in the interest of time, it's 10:03. I'll suggest we start. So over to you, Dylan, to introduce the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vishal, and good morning, everybody. My name is Dylan Pates. I'm the National Vice Chairperson for TIPA. TIPA is a Tier 1 member of the Right to Repair movement, and the intention of this meeting is part of a series of Right to Repair meetings that we are hosting, where we bring members up to date with the latest legislation and news with regards to Right to Repair. Part of this meeting, we will be showing you and informing you on how you can report new cases of malpractice through the newly launched Right to Repair whistleblower hotline. And we'll also be informing you of the revised Right to Repair website, which is much more interactive and obviously much more pleasing on the eye. And then last but not least, we'd like to ask you to please be on the lookout for surveys. There is currently one out at the moment. As always, your input is desperately needed and assists us in ensuring we can derive workable solutions. So please do participate and have a great meeting. Over to you, Kate. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Dylan. Let me just put on my camera so you guys can see me. I don't suggest anyone else does because it's quite a big meeting. But seeing as I'm going to be doing most of the talking, nice to put a face to the voice. I'm going to launch straight into my presentation. So just give me a second so I can share my screen. Allow, yes. Share. Okay. Can everyone see the screen? I'm just going to go to full screen. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay. As long as one of you can, it means it's working from my side. Thank you very much for that confirmation. So as you know, we're Right to Repair South Africa. I'm not going to tell you too much about our organization because I'm sure all of you know who we are. In this presentation, I'm also not going to delve too much into how we got to where we are today, because we're now at that point, and I think it's more important to know what's happening now and where we're going to next. So what I'm going to do is just show you, these are some of the recent actions we've been taking or been involved in. One of the big ones is the amendment of the guidelines. Then I'm just going to play one of our animated video series for you. It's not incredibly new. We have had it for a little while, but this one is particularly relevant to parts suppliers and retailers. And so I think it's important that you see it if you haven't seen it yet. I'm going to chat a little bit about our mystery shopper exercise that we did a little while ago. Also not very recent, but the findings were so interesting that I want to make sure that you know about them. Talk about our social media posts and how you can get involved. Same with our whistleblower hotline, and then a multi-complaint that we are about to file, which we'd love to have your support for as well. So let's go straight into the amendment of the guidelines. So what happened is towards the end of 2023, actually it was, or actually I think it was the very beginning of 2024, the Competition Commission, they prepared a draft amendment to the guidelines. We'd already consulted with them on what those potential amendments should be, and they included a lot of our suggestions in the draft amendment. And then in September last year, they published what the final amendments would be, also after consultation with us and other role players in the industry. And then they were finally implemented at the end of March this year. So the amendments that I'm going to show you today are now fully in effect, and so they must be complied with, and don't let any OEMs or dealerships tell you differently. So despite the amendments actually looking quite different, they've added quite a few infographics and things to the guidelines. There's not actually a huge amount of difference. They're just small things which should make a big difference in making the guidelines work better for the industry. So one of the things that we came across quite often since the guidelines were published was that OEMs and insurance companies, because effectively extended warranties are sold by insurance companies, were often excluding extended warranties from the meaning of a warranty. So they would say you need to go to a dealership or to a specific network of workshops in order to keep your extended warranty valid, and that would apply to using alternative parts as well, matching quality parts. So now extended warranties are explicitly included in the guidelines, and they must be treated in the same way as your regular factory warranties. Despite the fact that they are an insurance product, so it is slightly different to a factory warranty, there is no reason that you cannot use an independent service provider or independent parts. So long as it's good quality and everything's done correctly, there's no reason why that competition should be excluded from the extended warranty market, which is the time when a car is under extended warranty. And so these now must be included as well. Accessories. So this is obviously important to all of you. And what we found was that there was just a little bit of confusion as to whether accessories were a spare part or whether they, were something totally different. But basically, we didn't know how to treat them because they weren't actually mentioned in the guidelines. And so we wanted to make sure that you could fit roof racks, or something like that, or tow bar, or something that generally doesn't affect your vehicle at all, without affecting your warranty. Obviously, if someone messes with your wiring when they're fitting your tow bar, yes, there might be a potential for a portion of the warranty to be voided, but they just basically need to be treated in the same way as regular spare parts. That if a mistake is made or an inferior quality part is fitted and it causes damage, then yes, the OEM is entitled to void that portion, but only that portion of the warranty and not the warranty of its in its entirety, and not to automatically void the warranty because those parts have been fitted. So accessories from the get-go are now included, and you are allowed to use matching quality accessories. This is probably not as relevant to you. This was actually something that was asked for by the insurers and the OEMs. Because the guidelines opened up and made it quite wide as to who could be included in the motor body repairer pool or into the dealership network, they just put a little bit of restriction on there so that the repairer, so the insurers and the OEMs are able to ensure that there's enough workflow for all of the repairers and all of the repairers that are included. So I'm not going to talk too much more about that because I don't think it's particularly relevant to you. If anyone wants to ask a question on this later, please feel free to do so. Bundled sale of value-added products. So as I'm sure most of you know, that the vehicles are not allowed to be sold with a service plan or a maintenance plan automatically included with the price of the vehicle. They have to be a separate product and have to be offered separately with a breakdown of what is included. It was a bit unclear as to whether this applied to second-hand or demo vehicles, although the Consumer Protection Act actually already covered this because second-hand products were not allowed to be bundled. But just in order to make things a bit clearer and have all of that information in one place, it's just been included that demo and secondhand vehicles 100% must be separated from the service plan or maintenance plan. They can't say, oh, well, a little bit of it has been used. They have to be able to separate that. How that's going to happen in practice, we'll see. And then parts numbers. Almost as soon as the guidelines came into play, the OEMs turned around and stopped giving part numbers when people were approaching them for quotes. So that's because that makes it obviously very hard to then compare the parts and choose an alternative. So now this has been addressed in the amendment of the guidelines, and part numbers must be included in quotations and invoices. So that is obviously quite relevant to all of you. sorry, just before I go into the next one, because it's going to launch straight in. So that's it with the amendment for the guidelines. I did not mention it before, but at the end of the session, I'm going to open up the floor to questions. You can ask me anything you like about what I've spoken about or anything about right to repair at all. But now I'm going to go into that video that I spoke about. This is a video that is available on YouTube, on our YouTube page. We have a Right to Repair YouTube page with a bunch of videos. If you feel like seeing me talk some more, there's a few where I'm explaining how the guidelines work. But there's also all of these infographic videos that we've done, well, animated videos, sorry. And this one is particularly relevant to spare parts. So I'm going to let it play for you.
Machita, Lizette has a crack in the windscreen of a 2-year-old car. Lizette thinks that she has to purchase a new manufacturer branded windscreen from her dealer to keep her warranty intact. Lizette puts it off as she knows she can't afford their prices right now. Driving it like that may be a dangerous decision. However, she is happy she still gets to go jolling this weekend. Don't be like Lizette. Know your rights. You have the right to make use of matching quality spare parts on your in-warranty vehicle without your warranty being voided. Mara, remember to always choose quality parts from a reputable retailer that can provide a traceable origin for the parts they sell. Your choices are not between expensive manufacturer branded parts and pirate or grey listed parts. There is a whole host of affordable and most importantly safe options in between. For more information on how to exercise your rights, visit www.righttorepair.org.za.
Okay, so yeah, we have a whole series of videos like that. Please feel free to go and have a look through them, share them. The more we get them out there to the public, the better. Those were specifically designed to appeal to the public, because newsletters, articles, people seem to be getting 5 million emails a day these days, and it just goes over their head. But a quick little video that you can watch, when you're going to sleep or when you wake up in the morning, you're scrolling through social media, that's the sort of thing that you're going to be able to watch, get that little bit of information. And even if you don't take everything in, you're going to know a little bit that, yes, there's a right to repair out there. Maybe I should go find out more, the next time something comes up that they're finding they're servicing very expensive, or parts are too expensive, that sort of thing. So yes, please have a look at those and share them as widely as possible. I'm now going to move on to our mystery shopper exercise that we did a little while ago. These quotes in here are some of the things that the salespeople said to our mystery shoppers. Let me just explain how the exercise worked first. So what we did is we hired a company that does mystery shopping. They normally do it for, say, franchisors who are needing to check up on their franchisees and check that they are complying with all of their standards and that. And we briefed them to go into pretty much every single brand available in South Africa. And we did about 5 dealerships per brand, both in Cape Town and in Johannesburg. And they went into the dealership posing as a potential customer who is wanting to buy a vehicle, and asking what does it come with? Oh, it comes with these accessories and that sort of thing. And then they would say, and can I purchase the vehicle without a service plan? They might say, I've got a workshop that I've been, using for many years that I'm very happy with, and say, is it possible? And these are some, and then the responses were all, we actually recorded all of the audio. And so I listened through all of it and pulled out some of the quotes, because it was really quite interesting. How terrible these salespeople were. There were a couple who were knowledgeable, but the vast majority, even if they did actually know what the truth was, they were very misleading to the customers. So things like right to repair has not gone through yet. They're still fighting it. I mean, this was it was actually towards the end of 2023 and in the beginning of 2024 that we did this. And the guidelines were published in 2021. So definitely not still fighting it. And then things like they will mess up your vehicle and it'll end up being hugely expensive for you. Running down, obviously, independent service providers, which is nonsense. There are some brilliant ones out there. Right to repair only works for secondhand cars out of warranty. Obviously, that's not true either. And then a growing trend, which we've noticed, we've also received a few emails from the public about this, is saying not worth it, your resale value will go down. So this is something we investigating at the moment, because it's a great concern if that's the tactic that the dealerships are starting to use, because obviously that is a concern for customers. You want to be able to, when you've finished with your vehicle, be able to sell it for a reasonable amount. And you don't want the fact that you've saved a few $100 or possibly even a few thousand in using independents and independent parts to now result in you getting 20%, 40% less for your vehicle. But it's something we're still investigating. It's not a clear cut as to what 100% is going on there. So it was just very, very enlightening as to the kind of language and the words that the salespeople were using. As a result of that, we have a two-prong approach to using the data that we got out of that. The formal is that we laid complaints with the Competition Commission for official action, and most of that has already completed, and we have seen remedies being put in place by those OEMs that were cited in those complaints. And then the informal is we've made use of the information to formulate consumer awareness, social media posts, and PR articles. We got in a little bit of trouble with the dealership network. They weren't very happy with us about the PR article we put out there. But I view that as me doing my job correctly, because I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make sure that the automotive aftermarket is a fair place to do business. So here is an example of one of the posts that we did. I think this one was on LinkedIn, kind of just explaining to people what these dealerships are saying and what is true and what is not true. It did elicit some quite vicious responses from people who are obviously involved in the OEM and dealership network scene. Chris Jordan is clearly not our fan. He often likes to write on our LinkedIn page. But we think it's great because the more interaction we get, the more traction we get, and it gives us an opportunity to respond to these people with, very well worded arguments. So yeah, lots of action there. Go through and look. Go back and look through our pages if you're interested. There's some very interesting posts there which explain more what happened with the mystery shopper. We are about to launch a new social media campaign. This is an example just of the infographic that goes with it. I've termed the campaign The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Tell us your story. We're trying to find out just from people what have their experiences been out in the market. Have they had great experiences at dealerships? Have they had bad experiences at dealerships? Same with ISPs and spare parts. We're hoping to just get some nice interaction going and some stories shared that we can then either use to contact those people to lay complaints, or just the more information we have, the better we can run our campaign to address the issues that are out there in the market. This one, we're actually going to do a paid campaign because we want to get it out there as much as possible. But the reason I'm sharing it with you today is that if you see these posts come up on our pages, please share them. Please write your stories. Please get your aunts and uncles and buddies and everyone to write their stories, because as you know, with these algorithms, the more interaction we get, the further they spread. Let's go viral. I hate using that term, but yeah, let's go viral if we can with this. Please interact where you can. Our whistleblower hotline. As Dylan mentioned, we have a whistleblower hotline now. It's a simple form that you can fill in. You can stay anonymous if you want. The idea is just similar to getting those stories on social media. This is just a more formal way of gathering information. We want to know what's happening. We want to know what's happening in the market. We want to know if there's a problem, if OEMs are not complying, if dealerships are not complying. We want to know about it. So now on our new website, it's the same address. So I'm not going to put it yet. It's at the end. It's www.right2 with the number 2 repair.org.za. It's got a little button there that you can press whistleblower hotline and fill in the form. It's super easy. And then from there, that doesn't take you directly to the Competition Commission. From there, I will contact you and see how I can help. And if it is something that should go to the commission, or sometimes it needs to go to the ombudsman, the motor industry ombudsman, and sometimes it needs to go to the Consumer Commission. So there's 3 different channels of complaint, but quite often we manage to resolve it without going to one of those commissions. If it does need to go to the commission, it's any one of them. It's a free process. It generally gets resolved quite quickly, and we've mostly had good results from them. So it's definitely worth doing. Something that we are in the process of getting out there to the market, and we'd love it if some of you would sign on as co-complainants, is last year we heard an advert, well, Günther Schmitz, our chairperson, heard an advert on the radio. I think it was for GWM, where a guy was bragging about a bakkie that came with a 10-year service plan and 10-year warranty, and saying, and then, you know, it must have been GWM because they're the only ones who do that sort of thing. And then we also noticed an article in the newspaper about, this was not GWM now, this is GAC, who is offering an unlimited warranty on their engines, sorry, on their engines. But in order to do that, you had to service your vehicle only with GAC dealerships. And so it made me think, let me just go and look at what everybody's website says. And so I went through the same list we used for the mystery shopper and went to each website. And I've now drafted a large complaint against every OEM which is providing service plans either 4 years or longer, or if they are not providing necessarily a compulsory service plan, but they're saying that you have to service your vehicle at a dealership network. Obviously, this will also include only using original parts. So this affects you as parts suppliers and retailers as well, because it's blocking you out as well. Even though we're talking about servicing, it affects the parts used as well. And so this is just an example of one of the screenshots that I've taken to use as evidence. This is Hyundai, where, you know, they say 7-year manufacturer warranty, but in order to keep that in place, it's only effective if the vehicle is serviced and maintained at a Hyundai South Africa approved service center. So obviously that's extremely problematic. That's 7 years that the independent aftermarket is locked out of servicing that vehicle and providing parts for that vehicle. And so if you are interested in becoming a co-complainant to that, all it involves is reading through the complaint and signing your name at the end. Please drop me an email at the end of this. My email address will be at the end. And obviously we can, maybe Vishal can put my email address just in the chat box there if anyone wants it, because we'd love to have some parts suppliers and retailers signing on as co-complainants. The more people we have signing on as complainants, the stronger the complaint will be. It'll show how important this is and how much it affects so many different people in the independent market. Yeah, so that's something that we're working on at the moment, and we'd really like you to join in on it as well. This is just a little infographic which explains how it works with laying a complaint. So I'll just run through it with you, just so you understand that how the procedure works, whether you're joining in on the multi-complaint or whether you are doing one on an individual basis, it works the same. So what happens is we have an incident of non-compliance with the guidelines. So for example, offering a service plan that is compulsory, then we lay a complaint. The commission investigates the complaint. Then there are three paths that the commission can take from there. They can either, commission and respondent agree that the conduct is allowable, an exception, or that no anti-competitive behavior is present. So there are some instances where the OEM has been able to show that they're not actually acting in an anti-competitive manner, or that there's an allowable exemption. That is very rare, however. It doesn't happen very often at all. The next option is the commission is satisfied that the respondent has put in place measures. So generally, this is the most common one of what happens as a result of a complaint. The commission and the respondent, which is the OEM or the dealership, it's generally the OEM, they have a back and forth discussion, and the respondent then says, okay, well, we've put these measures in place, we've changed our company policy, we're giving our salespeople and our staff education as to how the guidelines work, that sort of thing. And then the commission often even does their own mystery shopping from there. They will phone the dealerships and do kind of what we've done and check that those things are actually in place. And then that would be closed. The final one, which we haven't actually had yet, I'm actually really hoping we will get one of these at some point. And this is where there can be no agreement, and the commission feels that it's a strong enough case that they refer the matter to the tribunal. That's the competition tribunal. The tribunals, you could compare it to a high court. It has the same status as a high court, and it will then be adjudicated there. If it goes to the tribunal, then it actually becomes law. And so, it becomes precedent case law. Sorry, I won't get too much into legalese, but just know that if we can get a case that goes to the tribunal and is ruled in our favor, it would actually be extremely helpful to our cause. So if you have anything that you think is a really worthwhile complaint, please don't hesitate. We need to get one through. And also know that having something referred to the tribunal wouldn't cost you any money. None of this costs you any money. All it does for you, all you need to do is write your statement, put the evidence in, if any email correspondence you might have had with, say, a salesperson or, a workshop manager or whatever, whoever it is, any email correspondence, audio recordings if you have them, anything like that. And then you would just have to be available for the commission to occasionally have a meeting with you or ask you follow-up questions. It's really not a huge time commitment at all, and it doesn't cost you anything. If we were ever to go to the tribunal, Right to Repair would most likely support you, and we would probably hire someone to go and sit in as a watching brief or to assist in that. And so you would definitely have support if things went that far. And that's it. So that's our new, it's the same website address we've always had. That's my email address if you have any questions. I haven't shared the survey. Perhaps Dylan or Vishal could correct me. I'm just going to close this now and just stop sharing. All right, have I stopped sharing? Yes, I think so. Great. I haven't shared the survey because I'm not 100% sure how relevant it is to this audience. The survey that we're running at the moment is with regards to an amendment that didn't go through, that we are wanting to go through, and that is compulsory access to technical information for data aggregators. So that's Bosch, Tech Alliance, InfoPro, HainesPro, all of those, because we need them to have access to the technical information so that they can package it and redistribute it to all of the workshops, because it's just insanely expensive, time-consuming, difficult, basically impossible for workshops to access technical information from each individual OEM. Marita's asked a question. Sorry, I'll answer questions in a minute. And we did not get that amendment through because the OEMs pushed back really, really hard. And so what we've done in the meantime, because we still believe it's an amendment that should be made, is I've gotten a top advocate to provide a legal opinion on why they should be included and why it is lawful and it is in compliance with the Competition Act that they should be included. But at the same time, what we need is a data set showing how difficult it is for workshops to access technical information from OEMs, and how much easier it would be for them, and how much of a difference it would make to their businesses if they were able to access up-to-date, 100% up-to-date technical information from data aggregators. And so we have prepared a survey, and I actually just sent it out yesterday. So Vishal can send it out, or Dylan can send it out, if you believe that this is an audience that is able to put it in. You just need to be a workshop operating in South Africa, an independent workshop, to fill it in. Because if we have that information and we put it together with the legal opinion, we believe that we will get that amendment through. So it's vital that we get a lot of responses for that. So yeah, I just wasn't sure if this was the correct audience, and so that's why I didn't prepare a more formal slide discussing it. But perhaps we can just discuss that in a little bit. And then going forward, please ask your questions. I saw someone asked a question about information going forward. Yes, I'm happy to share those slides. And also, you're always welcome to contact me with any questions after this if you don't want to put up your hand now. But I'm now going to open the floor to anyone who might have any questions. Should I open the chat box in case someone puts one in there? Oh, Mariki, thank you for sharing our website there and my email address.
Okay, it's Kate, it's Vishal, not really a question, but perhaps just contributing to the exercise. I think many would remember, the hard work that went behind getting us to where we are today. And if you remember, the common terms in the industry were practice does not mean it's perfect. It doesn't mean because you did this yesterday, it's all right. So now that we've got a much fairer dispensation, for industry, I think it's important for members that are participating in this meeting to seize the opportunities that lie, through this diversity. A lot of change has taken place. If you need to bring yourself up to speed in terms of what is truly happening, have a look at the revised website that Kate has mentioned. There's a lot of information there in terms of what is permissible, what is not, et cetera, et cetera. So try and function within the guidelines. And like I said, seize the opportunities that exist in diversity. There's many opportunities that come out of this. And beyond that, the specific mention that Kate had to the whistleblower exercise. I think it's important for us to understand that together we can move forward and get more solutions, but that can only happen through a process of producing evidence. So if y'all can help us with evidence that will substantiate a case and we can present a case, these are all the little things that are conduits to help us get to a smoother operation for our industry. So take full advantage of everything that's there. If you're not familiar with it, the links are in the chat box. Use it, follow the videos, follow the social media campaigns that we're busy on. And from time to time, like Kate has alluded to, there's surveys taking place. There's specific reasons for those surveys. Let's jump onto the surveys and let's become part of the process. Get involved, be part of the conversation. I'll stop there, Kate.
Thanks, Vishal. Yep. Anyone has any questions? As I said, I didn't go through the guidelines in their entirety. I've gone on the assumption that all of you have an idea of what the guidelines were before they were amended, but you are most welcome to ask a question about the guidelines, anything, the original guidelines or the amended guidelines. Happy to answer any questions.
Tells me that there's a clear understanding of your presentation, Kate.
Well, that's good. And yes, please, I hope some of you will contact me to become co-complainants on that complaint. If we don't stand up and take individual action, we won't get the change we want to see. And it's one thing to have the guidelines, but unfortunately, we have to keep pushing to ensure that the OEMs comply, because if they can get away with not complying, they will.
Kate, I think I don't know whether people are shy, but it's okay.
You can put it in the chat box if you want. You don't have to speak up.
No, that's cool. And Kate, just one more thing. I know we are, as Right to Repair, always looking to grow the supporter base and stuff like that. Is there anything you want to mention in that regard?
Yes, I mean, if any of you wants to become a member, we are always open to new members. We'd love to have you on board. We have several different membership options. We don't normally cater to the smaller businesses. We're not expecting smaller businesses to come on as large tier 1 sponsors, because we understand there's a financial commitment involved. But if you are interested in getting involved and you happen to own a franchise and you want to sign on the franchise for the benefit of your members, then please contact me and I can explain to you all the different options. Okay, I see something from Marietta. How can a dealership like We Buy Cars be held liable for substandard vehicles being sold with false or inaccurate reports? Marietta, I don't think this really falls within the competition law sphere. That would be a consumer protection issue, I would say, and I would recommend that someone who had an issue like that, where vehicles sold with substandard parts, that you report them to the Consumer Commission, because that is definitely not anti-competitive. It is not in compliance with the Consumer Protection Act, what you've explained there. So Consumer Protection Commission, that would be your port of call for that one.
There we go. It's acknowledged. Yeah. Got a hand from Ashraf.
Ashraf, you want to go ahead?
Hi there. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Right. I just wanted to find out, my name is Ashraf. I'm in the automotive heavy duty sector. If an OEM refuses to disclose their part numbers on their vehicles that they build, is there any recourse that we have against the OEM, or is that just their choice not to disclose the full part number that they would have?
Thank you, Ashraf. That's a great question, especially as it is now addressed by the amendment to the guidelines. Part numbers do need to be disclosed so that you are able to choose which part you want to replace it with. You can't choose which part you want to replace it with if you can't identify exactly which part it is. And so those part numbers are vital. If they are not doing that, please let me know and we can lay a complaint with the Commission.
Thank you. I will definitely let you know. It seems almost a deliberate attempt on the OEM, which is recent, purely because they're trying to withhold the information from all the other suppliers in the sector. And we often have complaints from customers who just want to compare quotes to see if they're getting like-for-like products. So thank you, Kate. I will certainly engage with you and give you all the information.
Thank you, Ashraf. Yes, that's, as I said, it's something that, as you said, it's something that's come up more recently. It's come up, in fact, since the publication of the guidelines or the coming into effect of the guidelines in 2021. It's a reaction and an attempt to subvert the guidelines and not compete, not allow competition. So 100% not allowed.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for that.
No problem.
Okay, I think Kate, I think that's it. I don't see any more hands. Perhaps just in terms of the way forward.
Sorry, just a question there, Vishal, came up in the chat.
There we go. There we go. All right, I'll leave that to you.
From Gideon, what if you supply the dealership a well-known brand of part from a part store whilst vehicles in their workshop? Are they obliged to fit that? So you're saying that the vehicle is with a dealership, but you as the customer are wanting to give them a part to fit. I don't know that you could force a dealership to do that. I think your recourse there would be to take it to an alternative workshop, an independent workshop. I don't know if you can force. It's an interesting question that you raise. I mean, I'd have to run it by the commission, but I don't see you being able to force a dealership to fit the part that you want. They could say, well, I'm just not going to do that work, and then you could take it to an independent workshop, and then the only thing that the dealership's not allowed to do then is they're not allowed to void your warranty, because of course you are allowed to fit that part. I don't think you can force them to fit it for you. Yeah, no, I understand their parts are way too expensive and why you would want to do that. I think you just have to take it to an independent workshop. I hope that answers your question. Does it have to be an RMI certified workshop? No, it doesn't. The guidelines do not require any workshops to be registered with any organization. You don't have to be registered with the Right to Repair. You don't have to be registered with anyone. The idea is we're opening up the market. We're not trying to close it. Going to an RMI workshop is often just a good way of knowing that it's most likely to be a reputable workshop. It's just one of those things you want to kind of tick off that helps you to establish that this is a safe place to take your vehicle. So, do they have qualified technicians? Do they have correct insurance in place that if they do something wrong, that you are going to be covered? So it doesn't need to be an RMI certified workshop, but in your own personal kind of checkbox as to whether this is going to be a safe workshop to use, that's sometimes one of the factors that you could consider. But not required in terms of the guidelines, just to make that clear. I hope that helps, Gideon. I'm going to move on to Marinus. If you'd like to, I see your hand is up.
Oh, sorry, hi there. We're supplying parts, and the regulations speaking about original or matching quality. How do you go about showing that it's matching quality if you supply your own brand of parts and so on? Or if there's a dispute, maybe a vehicle with your oil filter or air filter or whatever has got a problem, and the OEM must actually put do a warranty on the vehicle, and they see that they've got your parts on. How do you go about, or is there any regulations about defining that matching quality? Because I think that matching quality is quite wide. And is there anything that we can do as a part supplier to say, okay, but it is actually matching quality?
Okay, so that's a good question. The starting point of answering that is to say that OEMs are not allowed to automatically void your warranty no matter what part you put in. I mean, you could technically put in a very bad quality part. So long as it doesn't actually cause any damage to the vehicle, the OEMs cannot void the warranty. They can't just say, oh, I see you've put this part in, no matter what it is, and then say, oh, no, your warranty is void. They have to actually show that the part that you fitted caused the damage that you're now coming to claim on your warranty. So the reason we use matching quality is just to explain to people that, to mitigate their risk of something going wrong. Is you must use a good quality part so that you are unlikely to have it cause damage to the vehicle, which then in turn causes the OEM to turn around and say, well, this caused the damage, your warranty is void, or at least that portion of the warranty is void. And so it's more of a guideline for consumers or workshop owners on how to choose a part. And one of those things, you've got to look at traceable origin. Do you know where it was manufactured? Does the parts manufacturer provide a warranty on that part? You know, is it made exactly to the specifications of the OEM? Those are the sorts of things you can ask, but there is no actual regulation on it. And the OEMs are not allowed to void warranties just because you put in a part. So don't worry too much about matching quality parts in terms of what the OEMs are going to say. Worry about it in yourself, in choosing good quality parts and only selling quality parts. You know, so if you are selling good quality parts, use the fact that there's a great warranty on that part, or that you can trace the origin exactly to where it was manufactured as part of your marketing, so that people can choose correct parts. I hope that answers your question. I'm going to assume yes, because I'm not hearing anything, but I see some more questions in the chat box. Shahid says, who decides if a part fitted to a vehicle is reputable aftermarket product or not? As I mentioned, OEMs cannot void a warranty no matter what part you put in. Actually, they have to show that what you've put in has caused the damage. There's no automatic voiding. So don't worry about who decides. It's more for people who are wanting to use non-OEM parts. It's just a guideline for them to make sure that they use a good quality part. Keith says most European diagnostic sellers in South Africa have the Euro 5 block, meaning that diagnostics on these vehicles is very limited. Is R2R looking at this as well as getting the Euro 5 block lifted? Just trying to understand exactly what you're meaning. So diagnostics. So, okay, so yeah, this is the whole thing that we're struggling with in general, is this access to technical information. The OEMs are supposed to provide absolutely every kind of bit of technical information you need to work on a vehicle. And we are struggling to get that individually, like on an individual basis. As you as a workshop, you go and you try and get access to that technical information. It's sometimes impossible, or very difficult, or very expensive, or all three. And so that is why we're trying to get access for the data aggregators, or the data intermediaries, or whatever you want to call them, but those companies that you go to access everybody's data, and then they can fight with the OEMs about getting it. But we're trying to make it automatic access for them, or mandatory access for them, so that the OEMs have to give them that information, so that you have the most up-to-date diagnostics that you need. So yes, it is. We are actively, constantly working on trying to improve access to technical information. So I hope that helps. Yes. Jimmy, regarding the replacement of tires to a vehicle within the warranty period, there are certain tires that are vehicle brand specific and are OEM tires made for, yes. Could you provide a similar tire that is not OEM approved? Yes, it's a spare part. As long as it's correct for that vehicle, it's not going to cause damage. It's not going to be unsafe. There's no reason why tires are not treated in the same way as other spare parts. So I hope that answers your question, Jimmy. I don't know if there's any others. Thanks for those great questions, though. That's been great.
Any further questions?
Someone's joining a bit late.
I was just going to say, But yeah, okay. If that's all good, then I think we've pretty much come to the end. Kate, in terms of the way forward, you will share the presentation that we can onwardly share. Yeah.
Sure, I'll do that.
And then from our side, maybe to the team, to the members that are in attendance, if you would like to send us an email, regarding a query or whatever it is, feel free. You've got Mariki's details. It's on the, in the chat box as well. Feel free, and then we can always channel that onward to Kate if need be. And then beyond that, I'd like to maybe call on our Deputy Chair to close the meeting. Dylan.
Cool. Thank you so much, Vishal, and more especially thank you to Kate. Your knowledge in the subject is obviously absolutely invaluable to the industry, and we appreciate everything that you do in constantly fighting for the right to repair. Thank you to all the members that attended. We really appreciate your attendance and your engagement, and we hope to see much more of it in the near future. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Cheers, everyone.
Yeah. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you and bye, guys.